Let's bake some cupcakes. Our first part is to put our softened butter in our mixing bowl. If your butter is too soft, stick it in the freezer for about a minute. Just watch it. Now, if it's too firm, you can soften it in the microwave at about 50% power for 15 seconds. Next, measure your sugar straight into your mixing bowl. And you'll also want to measure your brown sugar into your mixing bowl. Once that's done, set it aside. Now it's time to measure your dry ingredients. Here you see me weighing out my flour. If you don't have a food scale, you can spoon and level into a measuring cup as well. Next, we're going to measure our baking powder. Make sure you level it off so that you don't have too much baking powder. And our last dry ingredient is our salt. Make sure you don't forget this step. Every baked good needs its salt. And now we're going to mix all those dry ingredients to make sure that they're well incorporated. Once that's done, set it to the side, and now it's time to cream our butter and our sugar. I cream my butter and my sugar for 2 to 3 minutes on level 4 until everything is nice and fluffy. If you have a handheld mixer, you can mix for the same amount of time on a medium level. You'll know your butter and sugar is done when your butter looks a little lighter than it did before, and it should look light and fluffy, just like that. Now it's time to add our eggs. I crack each of my eggs into a separate bowl. I don't want to add any eggshells to my batter or a bad egg to my batter. And so I beat my eggs on level 2 until it's well incorporated. Once that first egg is well incorporated, I scrape everything down, and then it's time to add egg number 2. Beat that on level 2 until it's well incorporated. Once that is incorporated, go ahead and add your vanilla extract and stir that. Now you're going to want to zest your lemons straight into that butter, egg, and sugar mixture. This helps to make sure that the fat absorbs all the flavors from those lemons. Once you've zested your lemons, stir that zest into your mixture and set this aside. Now it's time to get your wet ingredients ready. Take those lemons that you just zested and go ahead and juice them into a small bowl. If you're juicing them by hand, make sure you do it over a strainer so that it catches any seeds. And even if you're using a juicer like this one, it's helpful to do it over a strainer so it catches any stowaway seeds. You'll see me fish out some seeds here in a little bit. Okay, so now that that's done, we're going to give our buttermilk a stir to make sure it's ready to go. And I'm going to go ahead and measure that buttermilk straight into my lemon juice. And now you're ready to assemble the rest of your batter. You're going to add your dry ingredients in 3 parts. So add the first part of your dry ingredients, stir for about 5 seconds. Now add half of your wet ingredients. Stir that for about 5 seconds as well. Now it's time to add the second part of your dry ingredients. Stir for 5 seconds. Add the remainder of your wet ingredients and stir for 5 seconds. Now add the last part of your dry ingredients. Adding your dry ingredients like this helps to make sure you don't overwork your batter. Now scrape everything down. You want every bit of batter, every bit of ingredient in your batter. Okay, now that the batter is ready, we're going to prepare our blueberries. These blueberries have been washed and they've been dried, and now we're just going to toss them in some flour. Tossing them in flour, make sure that your blueberries don't sink to the bottom of your cupcakes or your cakes. Once your blueberries are ready, go ahead and fold them gently into your batter. It doesn't look like I'm doing this gently here, but I really am. You do this enough so that your blueberries are incorporated throughout. And your batter is ready. Now it's time to scoop your batter. If you're making cupcakes, make sure that your cupcake liners are 2/3 of the way full. If you're making cakes, go ahead and scoop the batter into your cake pan. Because this batter is super thick, if you're doing cakes, you're going to want to flatten the cake batter because it won't do it on its own. You can use an offset spatula or the back of a spoon. Once you've scooped your batter into your cupcake liners or your cake tins, make sure you clean around any stowaway batter, especially if you're baking cakes, because this will affect how your cake bakes. At this point, your oven should be preheated to 350 degrees. The amount of time you leave your baked goods in the oven will depend on what you're making, so make sure you check the description below. It looks like it's time to bake these babies, so just stick them in the oven.